So how long does it really take to learn a language? We've all experienced that it can take years to get to a decent level in a foreign language in the school system, while online language experts and polyglots sometimes claim that they learn languages in just a few months, or a month, or 2 weeks, or 7 days, which is obviously that I've ever heard. Can't even imagine. But if we look into real data very closely and start analyzing it, then actually we can answer this question pretty confidently. So in this video, we will do exactly that. We will answer the age-old question, how long does it take to learn a language? Let's go. So before we dive into this question, we first need to understand how many words are there in a common language. Because when we talk about learning language, then usually the main building block that we're talking about is knowing the vocabulary of the language. Because if you don't know the words, then everything else is impossible. And as the main example, we'll use the English language that almost everybody knows. Putting a number to words in English is not an easy task because we have to ask ourselves what even constitutes a word. But in general terms, we can say that based on the Oxford Dictionary, in English there are that many words in current use and that many words if we count words in the most liberal way possible. Now, what we see from research is that natives who went to college and learned in this language which we're talking about, which is English, know usually about 25,000 to 30,000 words in this language. This range is rough and it's an estimate. So there are many different estimations about this. I linked some of them in the description of this video as well. Now, if we start comparing these few numbers that we've talked about this far, then what you will see is that even native speakers who've studied in college, in the language and so forth, they know a very small percentage of the language in general. In contrast, non-native speakers usually know about 2,000, 3,000, sometimes 4,000 words. To see the reference, also check out the description box of this video. So let's make a little summary of what we said this far. In the English language, we have a bunch of words. Let's say this many. Native speakers usually know about this many, and non-native speakers usually know about this many words. Now, if non-native speakers know about 2,000, 3,000 words, it doesn't mean that they can only say me man, you woman, I go to store.
Oh, you want your job? Where you to?
It means that they can pretty much live their lives, but they are not using the fancy words. They are not using words like conundrum or any other words that I can't come up with at the moment. Okay, this is all very interesting, but what did we all learn from this? First, that even native speakers actually know and use a very small part of the language. Now, second, we learned that based on research, a typical non-native speaker commands around 2,000, 3,000 words of the language. And that's the key bit of knowledge here that we need to take into account, which guides us to understanding that, wow, we actually don't need a lot from the language to actually manage our lives as we would like to. That's the key bit here that we need to focus on, to understand that the 2,000 and 3,000 words that the non-native speakers usually command are the statistically most relevant words in sentences. And indeed, if we analyze people who are non-native speakers, we see that they speak about things in a more simple manner. For example, they don't maybe know the word spoon or fork, but they will say the thing that I'm eating with. You get the point. So basically, I know the word thing, which is statistically very relevant, and eating is relevant, and other words in this little sentence that we did, but maybe not fork and spoon. And that's why it's a wonderful idea to set ourselves a goal to learn these 2,000, 3,000 most relevant words of a language. And that's exactly what Speakly does. That's why Speakly has been created the way it has been created.
I know words, I have the best words, but there's no better word than stupid.
Even though we are using English as the main example in this video, the same applies to other languages as well. There are small, tiny differences, but the same ideas are true. Now, we arrived to the main question, and I hope that you remember everything that we analyzed this far, because it's crucial to start calculating and analyzing how long does it take to learn a language. And we need to take into account that when we are projecting how long does it take to learn a language, we need to take into account the logic that Speakly is using of learning the statistically most relevant words of a language. It doesn't make sense to start analyzing how long does it take in the school system. Yeah, we can go to a random language school's website and see that yes, it takes 600 to 700 study hours to get to a decent intermediate level, but this is so outdated. And the approach that Speakly is using is several times faster, so it doesn't make sense to use these traditional methods as examples. Now, 600 hours of study is 20 months of study if you take an hour per day for learning, which is incredibly slow compared to what you can do with Speakly. You might know by now as well that in Speakly we project that you will go from 0 to solid speaking skills, which means an intermediate, upper intermediate level, in about 4 months. Now, we project that you study around 10-15 new words every single day, and you do the other exercises as well, like the listening exercises, for example, or the live situations, just to practice comprehension skills and everything else. If you do that, it means that in 4 months you will go from 0 to very close to 2,000 learned words. You see the similarities here with the data we were looking at previously. Non-native speakers who live their lives in foreign countries usually know about 2,000, 3,000 most common words, and that's exactly, as I was mentioning, Speakly is doing. It's mimicking the same situation. So what we've seen based on several years of real users and learners data is that this 4 months is a very optimal projection. We can't promise that you will start speaking a language in a month or 2 months, but you will do that in 3-4 months for sure if you are consistent. If you're some superhuman and language learning Olympian like some of my friends, and then you can do it faster, of course. To give you a practical example, maybe you know that one of the most renowned polyglots alive today, Richard Simcott, who speaks so many languages, did a language learning challenge to learn Estonian, one of the most difficult languages to learn, by the way, and he arrived to a pretty crazy level. Check it out. We had a pretty exciting experiment together with the polyglot Richard Simcott to test out how much Estonian can he study in a 30-day challenge. So basically he studied Estonian for 30 days, every day for 3 to 4 hours, and basically, in the end of the challenge, he went to Estonian live TV, without any preparation. People in the Estonian national broadcasting asked him questions, and they had a little chat. So let's take a look how he did.
Naise on Makedooniast perest ja ma olen brittpärit ja mulle oli väga huvitav õppida uut projektis jaoks uut keelt ja ma tean, et Speaklys on eesti keel. ma tahaksin rääkida ka eesti keelt, sest see on väga ilus keel.
Ahaa, nii et selline lihtne vastus väga keerulisele küsimusele, miks õppida eesti keelt.
As you saw in this clip, Richard arrived to a pretty decent level in this wonderfully difficult language in only 30 days. So how did he do it? Of course, Richard is an Olympian among others with his language learning skills, but also, most importantly, he arrived to such a level thanks to focusing on the statistically most relevant words and sentences of the language. Hence, he built up the skills that are actually needed in real-life conversations. And by the way, here above is a video that talks about if it's possible to learn a language in 7 days, where we talk about this practical example of Richard Simcott in more detail. Now, Richard obviously studied 3-4 hours per day because, you know, he's just super motivated. And he used Speakly and Speakly listening exercises and all other exercises that Speakly has to offer. And then after 30 days, he went to live TV and had an interview with an Estonian person, which is cool. But that said, if you are more like me or other language learners, then for you also it will take about 3-4 months to get to a decent level if you're consistent. Now, again, being consistent means learning 10-15 new words every single day and trying to do the other exercises as well. It's especially crucial to do the daily listening exercises. Here above you will see I linked a video that talks about why it's especially important, and I put a blog post about daily listening into the description of this video as well. Also, I wanted to stress that if you are starting from a language from zero, then I strongly suggest not to learn the grammar of the language at all, or very minimally. And I linked above a video that speaks about how to learn the grammar of the language in different levels as a beginner, intermediate, advanced learner. And check it out for sure, because this approach really works. So next time somebody tells you that they learned a language in 24 hours, 7 days, in a night, in 5 minutes before the class started, or something else, then, you know, it's not true. And also, if somebody tells you that they studied a language for 2-3 years and they still can't speak it, then please be so kind and help them be more innovative and step out of the world of traditional methods, because they really need it. The truth is that we all just need a smart method like Speakly is using, and we can do anything. Until the next time.